focus on is going to be recruitment and retaining members to your local organization. And then I'm going to turn it over to these guys to talk about building coalitions, about media relations, and about deploying the troops and actually mobilizing people. As far as recruitment goes and retainment, it's something that we all need to focus on. I mean, this movement is really incredible. And it did start out as a very small movement in the hundreds across the country in February of last year. And what made it get to the point now where I think 25% of Americans say that they are Tea Party members or supporters, that's a huge growth in 1 year. And that's something we should be proud of. And I just got a comment here that we've only just begun. Well, that is true, and we've got to focus on recruitment, and that's how we're going to get there. We're going to take that to 51% perhaps. Maybe that should be our goal. So the thing about recruiting is it's got to be a prime focus of what you do. Every meeting that you have, whether you're an attendee or you're a leader, you have to make it a focus. You've got to have people signing in, joining the organization. If you have 25 people there on your first monthly meeting, you should shoot for 50. Ask everyone in the room to bring at least one person. And try to set goals for yourself. Try to set short-term and mid-term and long-term goals. Set out where you want to be the next meeting, set out where you want to be the next year. Only if we focus on our numbers and look at how we're doing, we check ourselves against other groups and learn from other groups, can we get there? So that's what we want to try to remember. There are a couple of great books that have been written on this subject that, I mean, I could stand up here and talk an hour or two about recruiting and retaining people, but a couple of books I'd love all of you to try to read, and you can get them at used bookstores. If you have some trouble, just Google it or find it on Amazon. But Dedication and Leadership by Douglas Hyde. Dedication and Leadership by Douglas Hyde. The other one is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. The first one is about how to actually go out and recruit people. It looks at how the Communist Party did that in Great Britain. And the second one is more of a sort of sociological look at marketing social phenomena, whether it's fashion or politics or an idea or what have you. So if you read those two books and you apply the lessons and tactics learned in those, I think you're going to really help yourself and really become a true community organizer. Don't reject that label. Embrace that label, because true community organizers are what this movement is all made up. We don't like that term because now we have a community organizer in chief that got his lesson from Saul Alinsky, but I say let's read Saul Alinsky, let's read Rules for Radicals, and let's use it against them. So a couple of things I just want to mention, and then I'll turn it over. One thing that people forget about building their organization, when you're bringing people in, you're signing them up and you're getting them deployed, don't forget about the social aspect of this. I mean, a lot of friendships have arisen through this movement and through political and social movements throughout history. These ties that bind us all, when you see your friends and neighbors out in the streets together and you're speaking out with one voice, there's something very powerful about that. And that should happen in your local community. You should have time for social events, for parties, for cocktail hours, for movie screenings, for book clubs, all these sorts of things to build this camaraderie among your local group. You know, I really saw that on September 12th. One of the things that I really didn't even anticipate, which really was beautiful and great to see, was that, you know, you had hundreds of thousands of people here, and these people all were part of the same community, and they didn't necessarily live next to one another. You know, you might have someone from Tampa show up and they met someone from Orlando, and they built this bond because they were there on September 12th. You know, it's that kind of social connectivity that has made this movement so powerful. And you know, we're going to do that again. We're going to be back here on September 12th. And let's say we had 1 million last year or 1.5 million. We don't really know how many people were here. But truly, if everyone makes it a point to bring someone new for that event, then you can do the math on what happens. So let's set a goal for ourselves and try to do it bigger and better this year. One final point is that, you know, there's been a lot of studies and polls and articles looking at who is the Tea Party movement demographically, you know, what's the income level, what's the socioeconomic background, what's the race, what's the religion, and that sort of thing. It's a pretty mainstream American movement. It's a very patriotic movement. Do we need to do better to reach into new communities? Absolutely. Any political movement needs to do that. So I encourage all of you to recruit in the cities, in the inner cities, in the suburbs, in the rural areas, in the barrios. It doesn't matter where. Wherever you live, wherever your neighbors are, get them involved, and then go to some other part of town and get people involved who maybe you don't know. Maybe they're not in your social circle. They don't go to your church. But you need to go and get to know these people and let them know that this is the kind of movement that welcomes everyone, that encourages everyone to participate. And only if we do that will we reach our goals and bring, I don't know, 2 million people to Washington on September 12th. Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, we can convince a lot of people that maybe were apathetic or that didn't vote at all, didn't vote for your candidate. Maybe they voted for Nancy Pelosi the first time. Maybe they've had a little buyer's remorse, but don't write them off. Go out there, recruit people, bring new blood, new faces into the movement. Focus on that, and that there is nothing more powerful that we can do to build this movement than to go out and recruit our friends, our families, and strangers to become a part of this. So thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to this evening. I think we're going to have a blast. And I just can't wait to have President Obama and his wife, open up the windows and say, oh my God, they're back again. Yeah.